So we now go on to our starting grid before a brief break, before we get the later part of the action, this afternoon underway. It's DD2 and DD2 Masters, the pre-final on day one. Tom Bracken leading the way in the championship. He will have a DD2 Masters driver, but one that I am very excited to see on the front row, Nicolas Picot from France. Lucas Pernod and DD2 Masters points leader Dennis Thum on row 2. Victor Frostbay and Jules Cousin on row number 3. It's going to be Ilias Kaliakmanis and Christophe Capitan rounding out the top 4 rows. Maxime Didix and Carl Gustav Borgard complete the top 10. Kane Cherian makes a return to Europe in the number 495 representing the UAE. Nikolai Christensen, who's in the top 3 in the championship in DD2 Masters, starts 12th. Enzo Bol and Mats-Johan Overhoff complete row number 7. Luca Filipponi and Mr. Uno Mas. It's Nicolas Guillaume. That's row 8. Dominic Hummels and Michael Becker line up on row 9 with Edward Matthews making an impromptu return to the cockpit. He's starting 19th and he's alongside Debacker himself. It's Carl Klebor with Sun Yordi in 21st. Tony Hogg from the UAE and Lennart Schreiber from Germany will start. Well, they will round out the back of the grid. Expect this one to be a little bit on the feisty side, folks. When you put DD2 and DD2 Masters together, these races can get very, very spicy indeed. So 13 minutes plus an additional lap for these drivers as the red lights are once again on the gantry. Drivers now start to line up. As we get set, we get ready. Now make their way out of the chicane. Here we go for DD2 and DD2 Masters. It's the pre-final on day one. Are we ready? Are we steady? Lights are out first time. Here we go. Bracken leads the field through into turn 1, but Lucas Pernod gets the jump on Nicolas Picot, but the Frenchman returns the favour going through into turn number 2, and he gets through on the Canadian. Victor Frostbay gets through as well on Lucas Pernod. There's Jules Cousin in the 451. He rounds out the top 5 as they go through the S-bend. Dennis Thum now down to 6th and 2nd in DD2 Masters after this opening foray. But Tom Bracken had the wings, he had the wind underneath his side pods at Karting Genk just over 80 days ago. And the 418 from SP Motorsport is leading the way. His teammate Enzo Bol started around about the bottom part of the top 15. That young man's got some work to do, but he's already making some inroads at this point. Michael Becker making him overtake, more than likely on Dominic Hummels. That's for 17th overall, but Enzo, looks like Tom Bracken did have a lead over Nicolas Picot about close to 6.5 tenths of a second. And it's a DD2, it's the DD2 Masters meet in the DD2 sandwich. That's 2nd to 4th with Victor Frostbay now ahead of Nicolas Picot. Lucas Pernod from Canada in 4th place. Dennis Thum has got past on Jules Cousin to now take 5th position overall. Christophe Capitan, Carl Gustav Borgard, Maxime Didix, they're all up. They now round out the top 9 ahead of Greece's Ilias Kaliakmanis from Greece. The 421 Enzo Bol has already made short work of at least 4 karts in front of him. And now he's on the verge of getting up into the top 10. Oh, and Kane Cherian's dropped down the order. He's come to a standstill. Oh, that's a disaster for the 495. And now Enzo Bol looking up the inside. That's the 421 of Kaliakmanis through the turn 4 left-hander. And the 404 gets through. Tom Bracken is controlling the pace at this moment. Just under 0.8 of a second. Still to go. Well, still to go between him and Victor Frostbait. But Frostbait can't get away from Nicolas Picot and Lucas Pernod. Look at the train. When you have DD2 and DD2 Masters together, you get close quarter combat. And Luca Filipponi is out of the race before it even gotten started. The 582 DD2 Masters driver from Belgium was out before we'd even gotten started. So Kane Cherian will be a second retiree from this race, as once again they go through into the turn 4, 90-degree left-hander. Lucas Pernod has set the fastest lap of the race, 55.715 from the 4.50. Dennis Toom is not that far off the pace. Actually, you know what? He's effectively 29 thousandths slower on that previous lap that Lucas Pernod did. And the top two are not running in the 55.7s. Bracken's lead now drops to under half a second. And there's dark, menacing clouds once again in the background. Hopefully, it does not blow, the wind does not blow the clouds over to us. No, thank you. We've had enough of a downpour today. But 0.772 covering the top three. 8 minutes and 46 seconds, plus an additional lap still to go. So your top three in the respective classes are as follows. Tom Bracken, Victor Frostbait, and Lucas Pernod. That's numbers 418, 411, and 450. That's your top three overall in terms of DD2. In terms of the DD2 Masters, Nicolas Picot, third place, leading the class. Second, it's Dennis Toom in fifth. Then you've got to go all the way down to 11th position to find the third place run at the BNL Karting Series 2023. DD2 Masters kickoff champion. There he is, Nikolai Christensen, and he's looking at the inside of Kaliak Marnis and gets through on the Greek driver. Speaking of drivers of Greek origin, DJ Liveris, you get a shout out, mate, because you came back last year. He's currently still over in the United States from what I remember when I last spoke to him. It was 7 minutes and 47 seconds still to go on the clock, plus an additional lap. Tom Bracken is just controlling things. He's comfortable. He knows that he doesn't have to necessarily run away with this race, but what it might do is just give him a little bit of a buffer. And in that kind of terminology, what that means is that if he can eke out a gap to maybe say 8 tenths, maybe a second, as that was the 444. Ho, ho, ho. Uno Mas does a number on Edwards Matthews, but the Brit returns the favourite through turn 2. And there is Christophe Capitan, and I spot the donut delivery boy. It's Mats Johan Overhoff. He tries to get through on the 599. The tail end of both those carts were all over the shop. They were sliding left, they were sliding right. Nikolai Christensen now makes it into the top 10. And he's not that far off the pace of Enzo Bol. Maxim Dirix, though, he's showing his fastest lap dance moves at the minute. 55.289. And he's closing in on Carl Gustav Borgard for 7th position. The gap now is just over 4 tenths. There's your race leader, Tom Bracken. Nearly 5.5 tenths of a second up the road is the youngster from SP Motorsport. Both he and Enzo Bol jumped to class. They've done exactly what Maxim Shurko has done in the Euro Trophy this year. Tomas Rudokas, also from Lithuania, another junior driver that nationally has moved from juniors, skipped seniors, gone straight into DD2. Dennis Toom, no matter how hard he tries, he can't shake off the 451 of Francis Jules Cousin, and that is going to allow Carl Gustav Borgard, Maxim Dirix, there they are, along with Enzo Bol. Enzo Bol now 9th. Started just at the bottom of the top 15. So this is where it gets very, very close indeed between drivers as they make their way through into turn number 1. A bit of a scrap at the back of the field. That's Tony Hogg. And going up the inside of Lennart Schreiber, that was Jori Klebold, the son of Carl. Where is Carl at the moment? Carl is currently ahead of Dominic Hummels. That's 17th overall. That, I think, by my reckoning, puts Carl Klebold at the minute. Well, Michael Becker is ahead of him. So is Christoph Capitan. So is Nikolai Christensen. So that will probably put him around about 6th place in the class. And there is Dennis Thurm. Maxim Dirix is coming for them, though. He is chasing them down. He was nearly 2/10 quicker than Borgard on the previous lap. And he's just overtaken him. He's just got him. And there we go. Maxim Dirix really, really enjoying doing some clean racing. And now Enzo Boll looking to try and get through on Carl Gustav Borgard. That is easier said than done. But still, with the top 10 covered by 5 seconds, top 3 covered by 9/10, all I'm going to say is anything can happen. Victor Frostbay has just pumped in the fastest lap of the race. He's put in a 55.180. He was 6/1000ths quicker than Tom Bracken on that previous lap. Through they go into the sweeping, fast-flowing turn 1 right-hander. It's incredibly deceptive when you know, these pictures don't do it justice, but as I say that, up into 6th place, Shepherd's Racing Services' very own Maxime Dirix gets through and takes that position away from Jules Cousin from France in the 4.51. And he's just put in another fastest lap of the race, 55.140. Here is the battle for what is P3 overall. But Nicolas Picaud, if he is one of the younger drivers in DD2 Masters. They dropped the age limit of when you can actually join it, which is 31 years of age. And that would mean to me that Paul Fouquemin might need to move up to DD2 Masters more than likely as of next year. Be very competitive, that's sure. And now we've got, that is Nikolai Christensen, and he's ahead of, oh dearie me, Nikolai Christensen now ahead of Carl Gustav Borgard. Both countrymen, both teammates, both racing in separate classes. Now coming up to the final couple of minutes of this race, and Tom Bracken is doing exactly what he needs to. Keeping that gap round about the same, not letting the pendulum swing in the favour of the other driver behind him. It's stabilised around 0.5 of a second between Tom Bracken and Victor Frostbay. Bracken was over 1.5 quicker that time around. Picot still has one of the Canadian finest vintage. In the case of Lucas Pernod, he has been keeping the Frenchman very, very honest. Pernod has really started to come onto form, despite a drama at Val d'Argenton at the second round of the Euro Trophy back in late May, where he was on for a podium. But he's really, really got to grips with things now. Just under a minute to go. So this, and I would say we're probably going to be on the wire for the final lap board being shown. But you know what? It could be the case. Could very, very well be the case that Lucas Pernod will have the opportunity to go through on Nicolas Picot, but the 5.37 from France is a very, very savvy and street smart driver when it comes to racing, racecraft and prowess out on the black stuff. So this means that I have commentated on Nicolas Picot as a senior driver, as a DD2 driver. Now this season, that turns to DD2 Masters. 2 laps to go, so our race leader Tom Bracken, who now has just over a 1/6 of a second advantage over Victor Frostbay, goes on to the final lap. Enzo Boll now looking for the move up the inside of Dennis Toom. Oh my goodness me. You've just got to be careful. Dennis Toom has a lot of experience, and you want to make sure that when you do the move, you do it nice and clean and tidy. Don't go, just don't go into there on a half measure. You've got to be more than 100% committed. You've got to be about 120% committed when you fire it past Dennis Toom. But we're going to go on to the final lap. And Tom Bracken has pretty much led every single lap. He's going to continue a great run of form so far this season. Last lap board is now out. Just under 1,300 meters for the top 5 to cover until we hit the checkered. Then we'll be going to a brief break here on the live stream. And still Lucas Pernod. No matter what he tries, Nicolas Picot has an answer for the 450 from Canada. But this is where it just can mean that if there is a slight slip up on the final lap from Picot, but that is very, very rare that that happens. But we're going to have our race leader come through out of the chicane for the final time. It is going to be a win. Tom Bracken wins at Marienburg in the pre-final on day 1 by nearly a second over Victor Frostbay. Nicolas Picot wins DD2 Masters and also picks up 3rd place overall. Lucas Pernod, Maxime Dirix, Dennis Toom, Enzo Boll, Nikolai Christensen, Jules Cousin and Carl Gustav Borgard round out the top 10 overall. Ilias Kaliakmanis, Edward Matthews, Nicolas Guillaume, amongst others, getting through. Christophe Capitan, Mats-Johan Overhoff rounds out the top 15. Michael Becker, Carl Klibor, Dominic Hummels, Yori Klibor, Lennart Schreiber and Tony Hogg complete all 16 laps. Kane Cherian unfortunately had a technical failure, putting the Emirati out on lap 2. And Luca Filippoli, I don't think, even made it to the start. So the